What attracts me to Charlotte Mason, and I'll start there, is that she was a British educator and philosopher of the late 19th and early 20th century. That was a period that was throbbing with new ideas, and I'm attracted to the thinkers of that era myself. A quick Google search, of course, shows that she is experiencing a sudden resurgence of interest, and it's not just me then that's attracted to her. She was born in 1842, and she died in 1923, 81 years later. In her early 40s, and I'm attracted to Mason as a female educationalist and the accomplishments that she was able to achieve. In her early 40s, after almost 2 decades as a teacher, both at the elementary level for about 14 years and then 4 years at the teacher training level, in her early 40s, in the winter of 1885-86, she gave a series of lectures. Those lectures became her first book upon which her whole philosophy was then based. In that series of 7 lectures to ladies, she laid out her initial ideas. She proposed a theory for relational education in a living environment filled with books, filled with experiences, filled with nature and ideas. She viewed the child as a person and the educator as one who cooperates with God. The ideas she proposed in that series of lectures so resonated with her audience that day that within the next 7 years, Charlotte Mason was at the heart of founding and launching 4 major institutions that resonate from the late 19th century right through to today. She started a union of parents, a curriculum, an educator's journal, and a teacher's college. The union was called the Parents' National Educational Union, and it soon had local chapters all across the UK and across the world. She started a curriculum called the Parents' Union Schools. It was dynamic, it was updated every single year, and she developed this in a very collegial way with many participants. She established a journal called the Parents' Review. It lasted for 99 years. It was published every month for 99 years. And for about its first 30 years of publication, Charlotte Mason herself served as its editor. And she established a teacher training college. It originally had a practicing school. It was located in Ambleside, UK, in the Lake District. It was called the House of Education, and it later became called the Charlotte Mason College, and now it is part of the University of Cumbria. I think you'll agree with me that she was a remarkable woman for her times and still for our times. As she promoted the idea that education is an atmosphere, a discipline, and a life, Mason summarized her educational philosophy into 20 principles drawn from her observations of children during years of teaching, from the science of her day, and perhaps most importantly, from the code of education that she found in the Gospels of the Bible. And now I suppose I'd be remiss in my 45-second elevator pitch on who Mason is if I didn't mention that a more fulsome introduction to her ideas would include reading the following books. So I'm going to flash them. Home Education, the first book in her series. It's not about homeschooling in the way we think of it today, but it's the education that takes place in the home. Then Parents and Children, Volume 2, Volume 3, School Education, Volume 4, Ourselves, published in 1904-05, came The Formation of Character, and her final volume on education, which she compiled in the last year of her life but wasn't published until 1925, is called Towards a Philosophy of Education. If you don't feel like reading that, all 6 of these, I'd recommend, and I think my colleagues at the Institute would recommend, read Volume 1 or Volume 6 to get a good sense of her philosophy. In the last 60 years, 3 books have been written that we all would highly recommend that you take a look at as well. In the 60s, The Story of Charlotte Mason. It's a wonderful introduction to who Mason was as a person, but also unfolds the source and the inspiration of many of her educational ideas. from the 80s, and the book that influenced me is For the Children's Sake, Foundations of Education for Home and School by Susan Schaefer Macaulay. And finally, from the early 2000s, When Children Love to Learn, a practical application of Charlotte Mason's philosophy for education today.